The massive chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with anticipation. Delegates from 1,000 worlds filled the tiered seats, their varied forms a testament to the diversity of life in the Milky Way. At the center of attention stood a lone human figure, Ambassador Sarah Chen, her crisp blue uniform a stark contrast to the colorful and sometimes bizarre attire of the alien representatives. Esteemed members of the Council, Sarah began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. On behalf of Earth and humanity, I thank you for granting us membership in this august body. We come eager to learn, to contribute, and to stand alongside you in facing the challenges that threaten our shared galaxy. A polite murmur rippled through the chamber. The Arcturian representative, a beam of shimmering light, spoke up. We welcome Earth to the galactic community. However, we must address the proverbial elephant in the room. Your world has only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. How do you propose to contribute meaningfully to our collective security? Sarah nodded, having anticipated this question. While it's true that our interstellar capabilities are new, Earth has a rich history of military innovation. We've faced countless conflicts and emerged stronger each time. Our tactical knowledge and adaptability. A harsh, grating laugh cut through the air. All eyes turned to the imposing figure of Admiral Zixthar, the most decorated military leader of the Krelat Empire. His exoskeleton gleamed under the chamber's lights as he rose to his full 3-meter height. Tactical knowledge. Zixthar sneered, mandibles clicking in amusement. Your species was flinging primitive projectiles at each other mere centuries ago. While you were inventing gunpowder, the Krelat had already mastered antimatter weapons and quantum shielding. Sarah felt a flush of anger, but kept her composure. With all due respect, Admiral, sometimes the oldest tricks are the most effective. History has shown that technological superiority doesn't always guarantee victory. The chamber erupted in laughter, various species expressing their mirth in a cacophony of sounds. Even the usually stoic Volcran delegates were vibrating with amusement. Zixthar's compound eyes narrowed. Bold words from a race that has yet to fight a single interstellar battle. Perhaps the humans would care to put their tactical knowledge to the test. A hush fell over the assembly. Sarah hesitated, sensing a trap but also recognizing an opportunity. What exactly are you proposing, Admiral? The Krelat's mandibles spread in what passed for a smile in his species. A war game, of course. Your best ships and crew against a standard Krelat battle group. We'll simulate a conflict over a neutral star system. If your vaunted human ingenuity can overcome our forces, I'll personally recommend Earth for a seat on the Defense Council. Murmurs of excitement rippled through the chamber. Such a spectacle hadn't been seen in centuries. The Volcran Arbiter, a being of living crystal, chimed in. This proposal has merit. It would allow us to gauge Earth's capabilities in a controlled environment. Ambassador Chen, do you accept the challenge? Sarah's mind raced. This was far beyond her authority, but the potential gains were immense. A seat on the Defense Council would give humanity a real voice in galactic affairs. Plus, she had faith in Earth's fleet. They had been training relentlessly for this moment. We accept, Sarah declared, her voice ringing clear through the chamber. Name the time and place. Admiral. Zixthar's exoskeleton rattled in what might have been laughter. One standard galactic week from now, in the neutral zone near the Cygnus Arm. Bring your best, humans. You'll need it. As the council session adjourned, Sarah rushed to a secure communication room. Within moments, she was face-to-face with Fleet Admiral Kaguya Sato, the holographic projection showing the veteran officer aboard her flagship, the EFS Invictus. They took the bait, Sarah reported, a grin spreading across her face. Hook, line, and sinker. Kaguya's weathered features crinkled in a smile. Excellent work, Ambassador. Our intel was spot on about the Krelat's arrogance. They have no idea what they're in for. Are you sure we can pull this off? Sarah asked, a hint of doubt creeping into her voice. The Krelat aren't exactly pushovers. Trust me, Kaguya replied, her eyes gleaming with confidence. "We've been preparing for this moment ever since we detected the first alien signals. Our ships may look conventional on the outside, but they're packing some surprises that'll make those bug-eyed bastards wish they'd never laughed at us." Over the next week, the galactic media was abuzz with news of the impending war game. Betting pools sprang up across 100 worlds, with the odds heavily favoring the Krelat. Human diplomats found themselves the butt of jokes at every diplomatic function. "Hey, Earthling," a Centauri diplomat called out at one such event. "I hear your ships still use reaction thrusters. Better bring a push broom to sweep up what's left of your fleet." Sarah endured it all with gritted teeth and a forced smile. "We'll see who's laughing when the dust settles," she muttered under her breath. Finally, the day of the war game arrived. A massive holographic display dominated the council chamber, showing the neutral star system where the battle would take place. The rules were simple. Each side would attempt to establish control over the system's habitable planet. Simulated weapons would register hits, and ships would power down accordingly. The Krelat battle group arrived first, 15 sleek, predatory vessels bristling with weaponry that could reduce a planet to ash. They arranged themselves in a classic Krelat defensive formation, daring the humans to approach. Then, with a flash of Cherenkov radiation, the human fleet appeared. A collective gasp went up from the assembled delegates. Instead of the expected dozen or so ships, only 3 human vessels had arrived. At their center was the Invictus, flanked by 2 smaller frigates. Admiral Zixtar's laughter boomed through the chamber. "Is this a joke? Or have the humans already accepted defeat?" Sarah remained silent, her eyes fixed on the display. She had no idea what Kegya was planning, but she trusted the Admiral implicitly. The simulation began. The Krelat ships moved with practiced precision, spreading out to encircle the human vessels. Energy weapons flared, filling space with deadly beauty. To everyone's shock, the beams passed harmlessly through the human ships. "Holograms," someone shouted. But where were the real ships? The answer came moments later as alarms blared across the Krelat fleet. 3 of their rearguard vessels suddenly powered down, destroyed by phantom shots from empty space. The human ships shimmer. The celebratory mood following humanity's unexpected victory in the war games was short-lived. Just 3 standard galactic months after Earth gained its seat on the Defense Council, an urgent message arrived from the fringes of known space. The Galactic Council chamber, usually a cacophony of debates and politicking, fell into an eerie silence as the holographic display flickered to life. The image showed a star system on the outer rim, home to a small Volcran mining colony, or rather, what remained of it. Where a vibrant purple gas giant once orbited, there was now only a slowly dispersing cloud of elementals. The rocky planets of the system had been reduced to asteroid fields. Of the Volcran themselves, there was no sign. Ambassador Sarah Chen felt a chill run down her spine as she studied the devastation. This was no natural phenomenon. The level of destruction spoke of weaponry far beyond anything the Council races possessed. High Arbiter Zixel of the Volcran, his crystalline form dim with grief, addressed the assembly. "Esteemed colleagues, what you see before you is all that remains of Outpost Zeta 9. Over 10,000 of my people called that system home. Now, they are stardust." Murmurs of shock and outrage rippled through the chamber. The Arcturian representative, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate suit, spoke up. "Do we know who is responsible for this atrocity?" Zixel's form pulsed with a mournful blue light. "Our long-range sensors detected an unknown fleet entering the system shortly before all communication was lost. The energy signatures do not match any known species." The chamber erupted into chaos. Accusations flew as various factions pointed fingers at old enemies or isolationist races. Sarah exchanged a worried glance with Admiral Kegya Sato, who had been invited to attend as Earth's military advisor. "Order." The booming voice of Council President Tulark, a towering insectoid, cut through the din. "This is no time for baseless accusations. We must approach this threat united and with clear minds. Sarah stood, drawing the attention of the assembly. If I may, honored colleagues, while this attack is unprecedented in its scale, it bears similarities to conflicts humanity has faced in the past. We should not discount the possibility that this is the opening move of a larger invasion. Admiral Zixthar of the Krelat scoffed, his mandibles clicking in derision. Always so eager for war, aren't you, humans? This was clearly an isolated incident, likely the work of some unknown pirate faction, with weaponry capable of destroying entire planets. Kaguya countered, her voice sharp. That's no pirate raid, Admiral. Ambassador Chen is right. We need to prepare for the worst. The debate raged for hours, with the Council ultimately deciding to increase patrols along the Galactic fringe, but stopping short of a full military mobilization. As the session adjourned, Sarah felt a growing sense of unease. In the weeks that followed, reports of destroyed outposts and missing ships trickled in from across the outer rim. Each incident was dismissed as isolated, explained away by skeptical council members unwilling to face the mounting evidence of a coordinated attack. Sarah paced her office aboard the human embassy station, frustration evident in every step. A chime at her door interrupted her brooding. "Enter," she called out, unsurprised to see Admiral Sato step into the room. The veteran officer's face was grim. "You've seen the latest reports?" Kaguya asked, though it wasn't really a question. Sarah nodded. 3 more systems gone dark in the past week, and still, the Council refuses to act decisively. Kaguya's eyes narrowed. "We can't afford to wait for them to come to their senses. I've already put our fleet on high alert, but we need to do more." "What are you proposing?" Sarah asked, though she had a feeling she knew the answer. "Operation Cassandra," Kaguya replied, her voice low. "We've been developing it in secret since we first encountered alien life, a plan for defending Earth against a superior interstellar threat." Sarah's eyebrows shot up. "You want to activate a classified defense protocol without Council approval? That could be seen as an act of aggression. Better to ask forgiveness than permission," Kaguya said with a wry smile. "Besides, I have a feeling we'll be vindicated soon enough." Before Sarah could respond, her comm unit chimed with an urgent message. Her blood ran cold as she read the contents. "It's happening," she whispered. "A massive fleet of unknown origin just appeared at the edge of Sector 9. They're tearing through our outer defenses like they're not even there." Kaguya's face hardened. "How long until an emergency council session is called?" "An hour, maybe less," Sarah replied, already moving to gather her materials. "Not soon enough," Kaguya growled. "I'm implementing Cassandra now. Try to buy us as much time as you can in the council." As Kaguya rushed out, Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself for the battle ahead. Not one of ships and energy weapons, but of words and wills. The council chamber was in uproar when Sarah arrived. Holographic displays showed the horrifying progress of the invasion fleet. Sleek, obsidian ships moved with impossible speed, their weapons reducing council warships to atoms. "Must sue for peace," the Signan representative was saying, his feathered crest quivering in fear. "Perhaps if we offer our unconditional surrender." "Absolutely not," Admiral Zixthar bellowed. "The Krelat Empire will never bow to these invaders. We must marshal every ship, every weapon." "Oh, now you want to fight," Sarah cut in, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Where was this fighting spirit when we warned you months ago?" President Tilark's multifaceted eyes swiveled towards her. "Ambassador Chen, this is hardly the time for recriminations. Do the humans have anything constructive to offer?" Sarah took a deep breath. This was it. "As a matter of fact, we do. In anticipation of just such a threat, Earth has been developing a defensive strategy. With the Council's approval, we're prepared to take the lead in organizing our combined forces against this invasion." A moment of stunned silence followed, broken by Admiral Zixthar's incredulous laugh. "You? Lead our forces? Your ships are centuries behind ours in technology. What could you possibly offer that we don't already have? Sarah's eyes narrowed. You'd be surprised, Admiral. Sometimes, the old ways are the best ways. And humanity has a long, bloody history of fighting against supposedly superior forces. Before the argument could escalate further, a blinding flash lit up the holographic displays. Where once there had been a Krelat battle group engaging the invaders, there was now only a rapidly expanding cloud of plasma. By the cosmic egg, someone whispered. They wiped out our strongest fleet in seconds. The chamber descended into panic. Species that had been at each other's throats moments before now huddled together in fear. Sarah stood amidst the chaos, her voice rising above the din. Listen to me, she shouted. This is not the end. Humanity has faced extinction-level threats before and survived. We can do it again, but only if we stand together. The plan we've developed isn't guaranteed to work, but it's our best shot. Who's with us? One by one, eyes and sensory organs of all shapes and sizes turned towards her. In that moment, Sarah felt the weight of not just humanity, but of all sentient life in the galaxy resting on her shoulders. As murmurs of assent began to ripple through the chamber, Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. The real battle was just beginning, but at least now, they had a fighting chance. Little did the Council know that even as they debated, Operation Cassandra was already in motion. Humanity's secret weapon was about to change the course of galactic history. The Galactic Council's command center was a hive of frantic activity. Holographic displays showed the inexorable advance of the alien armada, designated the Swarm due to their sheer numbers and insect-like ship designs. System after system fell silent as the invaders pushed deeper into Council space. In the midst of this chaos stood Ambassador Sarah Chen and Admiral Kaguya Sato, their faces grim as they surveyed the dire situation. The Council races had pooled their military might, but even their combined fleets were being systematically decimated. It's time, Kaguya said quietly, her eyes never leaving the strategic display. We can't wait any longer. Sarah nodded, a mix of anticipation and dread coursing through her. I'll inform the Council. Are you sure this will work? Kaguya's lips quirked in a humorless smile. It has to. As Sarah made her way to address the assembled representatives, Kaguya opened a secure channel to Earth. This is Admiral Sato. Authorization code, Thunderchild Omega. Commence Operation Trojan Horse. Thousands of light years away, in a hidden shipyard orbiting Jupiter, a massive hangar bay began to open. From its depths emerged a single ship, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Its hull was a patchwork of technologies, sleek Council alloys seamlessly blended with rugged human engineering. At its heart pulsed a power source that defied conventional physics. This was the EFS Thunderchild, humanity's secret weapon and last hope. Back in the Council chamber, Sarah's voice rang out over the panicked discussions. Esteemed colleagues, I have an announcement. Earth is prepared to deploy a weapon that we believe can turn the tide against the Swarm. Admiral Zixthar's mandibles clicked in derision. Another of your primitive tricks, human. What could you possibly have that our combined fleets don't? Sarah's eyes narrowed. Something they'll never see coming, Admiral. A ship powered by an artificial black hole. A stunned silence fell over the chamber, broken only by gasps of disbelief and muttered accusations of insanity. The Arcturian representative's form flickered agitatedly. Impossible. The energy requirements alone are substantial, Sarah finished, but not impossible. We've been working on this technology in secret since we first achieved faster-than-light travel. It's untested in full-scale combat, but our simulations show it's our best chance. Before further arguments could erupt, the strategic display chimed an alert. All eyes turned to witness the arrival of a single human ship at the edge of the besieged Alpheus system, the Swarm's latest target. The Thunderchild dropped out of hyperspace, its unconventional design drawing confused looks from the Council races and no reaction at all from the Swarm ships, which continued their relentless advance towards the system's inhabited worlds. Admiral Seto's voice came through the comms, tight with tension. "This is the EFS Thunderchild to all Council forces. Fall back to secondary positions. We're initiating contact with the enemy." As the battered Council ships retreated, the Thunderchild began broadcasting on all frequencies. The message was simple: an offer of surrender and a request to parley. "Have you lost your minds?" Zixthar bellowed. "You're giving up our position." Sarah held up a hand for silence, her eyes fixed on the display. "Wait for it," she murmured. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, a group of swarm ships broke formation, approaching the lone human vessel. As they drew near, the Thunderchild's hull began to shimmer with an otherworldly light. "What you're seeing," Sarah explained, her voice hushed, "is the event horizon of a microscopic black hole, artificially sustained within a containment field. It's not just our power source, it's our primary weapon." As the lead swarm ship attempted to latch onto the Thunderchild, the human vessel's shields dropped. For a split second, the containment field around its core fluctuated. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. The nearest swarm ships were torn apart, their mass pulled into the momentarily exposed singularity. As quickly as it had appeared, the rupture closed, leaving behind a sphere of utter destruction nearly 1,000 kilometers in diameter. Stunned silence filled the council chamber. The remaining swarm ships reeled, their perfect formation shattered for the first time since the invasion began. Admiral Seto's voice crackled through the comms. "Thunderchild to Council Fleet. The door's open. Let's take the fight to them." The weeks following the Thunderchild's miraculous victory over the swarm command ship were a blur of activity. As the remnants of the invading force were systematically hunted down and destroyed, the Galactic Council found itself grappling with a new reality, one where humanity had suddenly become a central player in interstellar affairs. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before the hastily reconvened council, her posture straight despite the exhaustion evident in her eyes. The chamber, once filled with hundreds of species, now held barely half its usual number. Empty seats served as a stark reminder of the cost of their victory. "Esteemed colleagues," Sarah began, her voice carrying easily through the hushed room, "while we have won a significant battle, the war is far from over. Our long-range scouts report that the swarm's home territory remains heavily fortified. If we don't press our advantage now, we risk giving them time to regroup and launch a counteroffensive." Murmurs of agreement and concern rippled through the assembly. Admiral Zixthar, his exoskeleton still bearing scorch marks from the recent battles, raised a clawed appendage. "The Krelat Empire stands ready to lead the charge into swarm space. Our fleets are bloodied but unbowed." Sarah nodded respectfully to the admiral, marveling at how quickly their relationship had evolved from antagonism to grudging respect. "Your courage is appreciated, Admiral. However, I believe our next moves should leverage the unique capabilities that turned the tide in our favor." All eyes turned to the holographic display at the center of the chamber, where a schematic of the Thunderchild slowly rotated. "Thanks to the data gathered during our engagement with the Swarm command ship, we've made significant improvements to the Singularity drive," Sarah explained. "We're prepared to outfit key vessels from each council race with this technology, creating a task force unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen." Excited chatter broke out among the representatives. The Arcturian delegates' form pulsed with intense light. "You would share this technology freely, even after our initial skepticism." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Earth understands the importance of unity in the face of existential threats. We rise or fall together." As the council debated the specifics of this new joint fleet, Sarah's communicator buzzed with an incoming message. She discreetly checked the display, her eyes widening slightly at the sender. "Admiral Kaguya Sato, still recuperating from injuries sustained during the Thunderchild's near-suicidal attack." "Excuse me, colleagues," Sarah said, stepping away from the main floor. She found a quiet alcove and activated the secure channel. "Admiral, you should be resting." Kaguya's holographic form flickered into view, her face drawn but eyes alert. "No time for rest, Ambassador. We've got a situation developing that the Council needs to know about immediately." Sarah felt a knot form in her stomach. "What is it?" "Our deep space monitoring stations picked up a massive energy surge from the direction of swarm territory," Kaguya reported. "Initial analysis suggests they're preparing for a major offensive. But here's the kicker. The energy signature is eerily similar to our singularity drive." Sarah's blood ran cold. "That's impossible. Unless—" She trailed off, not wanting to voice the implication. Kaguya nodded grimly. "Unless they somehow reverse-engineered the technology from their brief encounter with the Thunderchild. These bastards adapt fast, Sarah. We need to move now." Steeling herself, Sarah returned to the council chamber. As she retook her position at the speaker's podium, she could feel the weight of countless lives resting on her next words. "Honored representatives," she began, her voice cutting through the ongoing discussions, "I've just received intelligence that changes everything. The swarm is mobilizing, and they may have weapons based on our own singularity technology. Our window for action is rapidly closing." The chamber erupted into chaos. Species that had been on the verge of agreement now argued fiercely over courses of action. Sarah watched with growing frustration as precious minutes ticked by. Suddenly, a thunderous boom shook the chamber. All eyes turned to Admiral Zixthar, who had slammed his armored fist onto his console. "Enough," the Krelat roared. "While we bicker, the enemy prepares. I move that we immediately implement the human plan. Outfit our ships, form the task force, and take the fight to the swarm." A tense silence fell over the assembly. Then, one by one, representatives began to signal their assent. Within minutes, a consensus was reached. Sarah felt a surge of relief, quickly tempered by the knowledge of the monumental task ahead. As the council session adjourned, Sarah found herself approached by a diverse group of military leaders from across the galaxy. Admiral Zixthar led the group, his mandibles clicked in what she had come to recognize as a sign of respect. "Ambassador," he said, "we may have doubted your species in the past, but you've more than proven yourselves. We stand ready to learn your unorthodox tactics." Sarah nodded, a plan already forming in her mind. "Thank you, Admiral. I think it's time we introduced you to some human military history. Ever heard of the Trojan horse?" Over the next several days, a flurry of activity consumed the Council's central shipyards. Vessels from a dozen different species were retrofitted with singularity drives, their crews undergoing crash courses in human combat doctrine. At the center of it all stood the refitted and upgraded Thunderchild, now bearing the scars of its previous battle like badges of honor. As the joint fleet prepared to depart, Sarah found herself on the Thunderchild's bridge alongside Admiral Sato. The human ship had been chosen as the task force's flagship, a testament to how far they'd come in the eyes of the galactic community. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Kaguya mused, gazing out at the assembled armada. Ships of all shapes and sizes floated in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with the telltale shimmer of singularity containment fields. Sarah nodded, a mix of pride and apprehension washing over her. "I never thought I'd see the day when the galaxy's forces would unite like this, let alone under human leadership." Kaguya's expression turned serious. "We've come a long way, but the real test is still ahead. Are you ready for this, Sarah? Once we jump into swarm space, there's no turning back." Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "As ready as I'll ever be. Let's make history." With a nod, Kaguya turned to her command console. "All ships, this is Admiral Sato. Commence Operation Trojan Horse. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Execute." In a dazzling display of coordinated precision, the entire fleet winked out of existence, only to reappear moments later deep in swarm territory. The scene that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. A vast swarm armada hung in space before them, easily dwarfing their own considerable forces. At its center loomed a massive structure, part ship, part space station, that pulsed with ominous energy. "By the cosmic egg," breathed one of the alien officers on the bridge. "How can we possibly stand against that?" Sarah's eyes narrowed as she studied the enemy formation. "The bigger they are," she murmured, "the harder they fall. Admiral Sato, it's time to show them why humanity has survived countless wars and near-extinction events." Kaguya's lips curved in a predatory smile. "With pleasure, Ambassador. All ships, execute maneuver Thermopylae. Let's remind these bugs why you should never underestimate humanity." As the joint fleet sprang into action, employing tactics that seemed to defy conventional space combat doctrine, Sarah allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. The swarm had awakened a sleeping giant in humanity, and now, united with the galaxy's greatest powers, they were about to demonstrate just how dangerous they could be. The battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy had begun, and at its heart stood the improbable alliance of Earth and the cosmic civilizations it had so recently joined. Win or lose, the universe would never be the same again. The aftermath of the final battle against the swarm was a sight to behold. The vast expanse of space around the former swarm homeworld was littered with debris from both sides, a somber testament to the ferocity of the conflict. Yet, amidst the destruction, a sense of hope pervaded the surviving fleet. The ESS Thunderchild, battered but unbowed, led the victorious Armada back towards Council space. On its bridge, Ambassador Sarah Chen and Admiral Kaguya Sato stood side by side, their faces reflecting a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "We did it," Sarah breathed, still scarcely able to believe it. "We actually did it." Kaguya nodded, a rare smile gracing her features. "Humanity's finest hour, and we shared it with the galaxy. Who would have thought?" As they approached the first Council world, a stunning sight greeted them. Thousands of ships from every corner of the galaxy had assembled to welcome the returning heroes. The comm channels erupted with cheers and congratulations in hundreds of languages. The Thunderchild docked at the Central Council station, and as Sarah and Kaguya disembarked, they were met with a thunderous ovation. Representatives from countless species lined the corridors, many bowing or performing their species equivalents of respectful gestures. At the entrance to the main council chamber, they were greeted by none other than Admiral Zixthar. The Krelat warrior's exoskeleton bore new battle scars, but his compound eyes shimmered with what Sarah had learned to recognize as deep respect. "Ambassador, Admiral," Zixthar said, his mandibles clicking softly. "The galaxy owes you a debt that can never be repaid. Your strategies, your Trojan horse, they were masterful." Sarah inclined her head. "The victory belongs to all of us, Admiral. Your people fought with incredible bravery." As they entered the council chamber, a hush fell over the assembled representatives. President Tlark, the insectoid leader who had often been skeptical of humanity's place in galactic affairs, stepped forward. Ambassador Chen, Admiral Sato. Tlark's multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with emotion. "On behalf of the Galactic Council and all sentient life in our galaxy, I extend our deepest gratitude. Today, we stand at the dawn of a new era, and it is largely thanks to humanity's ingenuity and courage." The chamber erupted in applause. As it died down, Tlark continued, "In light of Earth's contributions, this council has unanimously voted to elevate humanity to the rank of elder race, with all the privileges and responsibilities that entails." Sarah's eyes widened in shock. Elder race status was typically reserved for civilizations that had explored the stars for millennia. To grant it to humanity, barely a century into their interstellar age, was unprecedented. We're honored," Sarah managed, her diplomatic training kicking in despite her surprise. "Earth stands ready to help shape a brighter future for all." As the formalities concluded, the council chamber transformed into a grand celebration. Species that had been bitter enemies mere months ago now mingled freely, sharing stories of the battle and marveling at the sudden shift in the galactic order. Sarah found herself approached by a group of young aliens, their eyes wide with admiration. A Volcran youth, its crystalline form shimmering with excitement, spoke up. "Ambassador, is it true that humans learn combat tactics by simulating conflicts for fun? What did you call them? Video games?" Sarah couldn't help but laugh. That's a bit of an oversimplification, but not entirely incorrect. Our history of conflict has led us to explore warfare in various media, including entertainment. The group listened in rapt attention as Sarah explained concepts like real-time strategy games and historical battle reenactments. She could almost see the gears turning in their minds, imagining how such tools could be adapted for their own species. Meanwhile, Admiral Seto found herself surrounded by military leaders from across the galaxy, all eager to learn more about human combat doctrine. "Your guerrilla warfare techniques," a Centauri commander mused, her feathered crest quivering with interest. They seemed counterintuitive, yet they were devastatingly effective against the swarm. "How long has humanity been developing such strategies?" Kaguya's expression turned thoughtful. "Centuries in various forms. From ancient Earth conflicts to our more recent global wars, humanity has always had to find ways for smaller, less technologically advanced forces to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds." As the celebration continued, Sarah noticed a commotion near one of the chamber's data terminals. Curious, she made her way over, finding a group of diverse species huddled around a holographic display. "Ambassador Chen," called out a Betelgeusian scientist, his tentacles waving excitedly. "We've been analyzing the data from the swarm's home system. You won't believe what we found." Sarah leaned in, her eyes widening as she took in the complex equations and energy readings on the display. Are you saying the swarm's original home wasn't in our galaxy?" The scientist bobbed his entire body in affirmation. "Precisely. The quantum signatures suggest they originated from a parallel universe, one perhaps where they had already consumed all available resources. Our victory may have saved not just our galaxy, but our entire dimensional plane." The implications were staggering. As word spread through the chamber, Sarah could see the shift in how the gathered species viewed humanity. They were no longer just clever upstarts, but potentially the saviors of multiple realities. As the night wore on, Sarah found a quiet moment to slip away to a viewing deck. She stood before the vast window, gazing out at the star-studded expanse. The weight of recent events, of humanity's new role in the cosmos, settled upon her shoulders. She sensed rather than heard someone approach, turning to find Admiral Zixthar standing beside her. "Quite a view, isn't it?" the Krelat mused, his voice uncharacteristically soft. "I remember when my people first achieved faster-than-light travel. We thought we were invincible, destined to rule the stars. It took us centuries to learn the value of cooperation." Sarah nodded, understanding the unspoken compliment. "Humanity has had to learn that lesson many times throughout our history. I suppose we had a head start in that regard." Zixthar's mandibles clicked in what Sarah now recognized as a chuckle. "Indeed. Your species is full of surprises, Ambassador. I look forward to seeing what other wonders you'll bring to our galactic community." As they stood in companionable silence, Sarah's comm unit chimed softly. A message scrolled across its screen, causing her breath to catch in her throat. "Is something wrong?" Zixthar inquired, noting her sudden tension. Sarah shook her head, a mix of excitement and apprehension coursing through her. "Not wrong, exactly. It's a message from Earth's Quantum Research Division. They'd been inspired by our encounters with the swarm, and they think they found a way to initiate controlled travel between parallel universes." Zixthar's compound eyes widened, the implications clear. "By the cosmic egg," he breathed. "You mean to tell me that humanity, barely a century into its interstellar age, is already considering multi-dimensional exploration?" Sarah nodded, a slight smile playing at her lips. "Like you said, Admiral, we're full of surprises." As they turned back to the star-filled vista, Sarah felt a profound sense of both pride and responsibility. Humanity had ascended to heights beyond their wildest dreams, but their journey was far from over. New frontiers awaited, along with new challenges and, undoubtedly, new threats. But for now, in this moment of hard-won peace, Sarah allowed herself to simply marvel at the infinite possibilities stretching out before them. Humanity had found its place among the stars, and the universe would never be the same.